We have to clarify for the bitches that are gonna comment. Yes, we know the debut was the first heavy metal album. This one is certainly responsible for the movement.
I don't know if you can see.
Oh, you got the disc.
Got the CD.
Everyone knows about the legacy of this album, but how about the legendary lineup? Someone where, when I was growing up, when I was a little kid, metal was definitely on rotation, but for some reason Sabbath was not, even though Ozzy's solo stuff was. When I heard about this lineup, when I first started getting into this kind of stuff, it's like an all-star team by itself. Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, Ozzy Osbourne, and of course Bill Ward, certainly one of the most underrated drummers of this era.
Yeah. So underrated. I never even knew who Bill Ward was. You never hear anybody ever talk about it. I don't know why, but if you listen to isolated tracks or even just him playing in songs, he kills it.
Even just Iron Man, one of their biggest songs, one of his best songs of his career, and nobody talks about it. Hit after hit after hit on this album. Every single thing could be a single by itself. Without further, Bovine Excrement, War Pigs. I unfortunately will never not hear Jack Black sing this when I'm listening through. And I also just realized that Metallica totally jacked this riff from Master of Puppets. Right off the bat, we're greeted by Geezer. One of your heroes.
Geezer is one of my heroes. His picture's up here. Over there. Geezer not only maintains the backline defense, he also is able to break through and when need be to really bring the attention when Tony's taking a break or building up to one of his own parts. The thing that really stood out for me with Geezer was not only was his bass playing front line and not just kind of boring root note nonsense, but he also experimented with pedals and different types of sounds and tunings to differentiate himself and also match the kind of dark energy.
Like I said in the beginning, I'm very well versed with Ozzy's solo stuff, but not so much with Black Sabbath, so it's not often that I hear Ozzy without his signature vocal effects, but it was refreshing to hear the raw sounds and show how much vocal talent he really has by himself.
Sheer power in his voice. The best part about Ozzy is when he talks off the mic, you have no idea what he's saying. But when he sings, you could be half dead and just be like, oh, it's Ozzy. It's towards war and how politicians will start wars and then let people die.
More stuff than Metallica jacked.
That too. They did a really good job of capturing that ideology of just being used.
Tony Iommi's wild solo is something that I'm sure blew many people away when this first came out. Of the 3 big songs that I had heard prior to coming into this review, this would probably be number 3 for me, but still a fantastic opener. I give it a 7.
Great opener. I give it an 8.5.
For a song that's not even 3 minutes in length, there's way more to talk about than there should be.
One of the most iconic riffs, I think, in music history. They were going out to lunch, except for Tony, and he was just sitting there, and he just came up with this, and they thought pretty much nothing of it. They also didn't even know what paranoid meant.
Geezer didn't know what paranoid meant, but they called Geezer paranoid all the time, so he wrote this song about being a moody teenager, which is not what paranoid means, but still a great song. The raw production works so well with Ozzy's tape delay effect too, and the overall feel has a really weird twist of old school and new school, like listening to a song written today but recorded with 70s style production. That raw production usually really dulls out the sound of a song, but there's so much energy pouring out of Sabbath on this one that it remains one of the most heavy-hitting songs I've ever heard.
Especially energy-wise, absolutely captures what they were trying to go for. Just like the opening riff, this solo is so iconic. Super simplified, but in that right perfect way. One of their most popular songs for a good reason.
The fact that this was written by some guys in which one of them didn't even know what the definition of paranoid was before writing a whole song about it could fit so much brilliance into less than a 3-minute song is quite a miracle. Give it an 8.5.
8.5.
Really the only song in the album that you can pin to a 60s or 70s timeline. Definitely a lot of King Crimson vibes here.
Oh, definitely. The thing I really love about this is it's so unique. For the band as straightforward as Black Sabbath can be, for them to pull something out like this.
It's a good track to show the versatility of each member, with Bill Ward hopping on the congas, Ozzy with a Leslie speaker, and Geezer and Tony with the jazz styles. Not one of the more popular ones, but I think it's an excellent addition to keep the album interesting and add another dimension. I give it a 7.
One of their best songs. I give it an 8.
Yeah. Best on the album.
Yeah, it's in like, I have like a top 3.
It may be personal nostalgia, hearing it in that Iron Man movie for the first time, and this is actually the first song that I ever wanted to learn on guitar when I was 8, before I threw my guitar in the corner for 15 years and didn't pick it up until now. It's actually that one right there. Tony is absolutely brilliant, bending the string at the nut on his SG to get that effect you'd get with a whammy bar, and the aggressive and big power chords. It sounds exactly like what you'd think an Iron Man would sound like the big lumbering bloke like Ozzy was talking about. Bill Ward is such a huge part of this song too, with the excellent patterns and fills, one of his best songs on this entire album. And the high energy switch up at the back half is a perfect transition out of the song. One of the most important songs in human history. This one, a 9.
I also especially love the break they throw in, Geezer's fast pace, eighth notes. I'd have to agree with you and give it a 9 as well.
It's kind of an empty song, at least the main riff, but Tony kicks it up a notch with the chords going right into his solo.
I'd have to agree with you on that. I do like it has its own identity. I like the way Ozzy fit his verse in with the beat of the song.
One of the more interesting subjects on the record, touching on the Holocaust and also comparing it to the ongoing Cold War. I like how they secured the Squidward feature too. That was pretty good.
Being an emptier song, it's still one I think that was well deserved to be put on the album, as well as their ability to change the pace.
Not one of the more eventful songs on the album, but still a great piece, so I give it a 6.5.
Good addition, I give it a 7.5.
One of the more standout Geezer Butler songs, shifting between the soft playing and the heavy plucking with ease. Also does a great job to build suspense when the whole band comes in. One of the better bridges on this album, too. It's high energy instrumental and Ozzy with his skyscraping vocals.
It feels like a new song just started. Steady beat, fantastic riff.
More interesting subject material, not just covering drug addiction like so many other metal songs have, but specifically the soldiers coming home being addicted.
Even though they were doing the same thing.
Give it a 7.
A 7 as well.
Bill easily gets the least recognition out of this whole group, so it was refreshing to see him get the spotlight, flexing his lightning speed.
Yeah, he pulled out the Moby Dick before Moby Dick was out. And I love the beginning where Tony and Bill switch off for Phil.
Love the delay effects on Tony that gives it a great stadium sound and much more depth as well. The song is, I guess, about gang wars with skinheads.
It's also about Ozzy and them doing drugs and then seeing stuff that's not real.
Very smooth transition into the second part. It's a little longer than it needs to be, and definitely one of the more simpler songs, but I like how they finished the album with their signature sound. I give it a 6.
Damn.
Yeah, didn't really care for this one.
I fucking love this song.
Yeah, I just thought it was like the same 3 chords over and over again, and then maybe like 3 notes on a solo.
Ozzy's serious vocals lead you into a 2-minute 30-second instrumental of just absolute heavy metal paradise. This is, I think, one of their more iconic songs. I give this one an 8.
Holy shit. Overall, iconic album, but I think the ones that I knew coming in were definitely the best ones.
While keeping the same theme and pace for each song, this album also keeps every song fresh and unique in its own way. It helps it to stand out, especially past their first record, which was good, but this one is definitely the rocket ship.
Brief moments on this album that made such a huge impact, like Paranoid by itself and also the Master of Puppets riff from War Pigs. There is a reason Sabbath has so much respect and notoriety even today among everyone, even the younger kids. Even if I wasn't blown away by the tracks I hadn't heard already, the legacy of this album can't be understated, and for that reason, I give it an 8.
They're called the grandfathers of heavy metal for a reason. The musicianship...
Godfathers,
sorry. The musicianship and overall creativity is astonishing. Iconic is an understatement. I give it an 8.5.